What is going on, everybody? It is your boy SK, Purple and SKOL'd Media. We are live, and I'm here with my guy, Realistic Randy, man. Let's get right into it. How are we feeling, Randy?
That just caught me off guard. I was thinking there was going to be some sort of intro. So I see the live turns red. I was like, oh, we here.
That's how we do it around these
Yeah,
parts, yeah.
it's all right. Not too shabby. Quarterbacks are looking pretty good. I know there's hashtag talks of hashtag quarterback battles, but that's really not the case. But shout out to JJ McCarthy for throwing that deep pass that he did to Jalen Naylor. Was
Yeah,
that correct? Yeah. So
a healthy
that's
Jalen
pretty good.
Naylor.
A healthy Jalen Naylor. I mean, you got to really start to give credit to those that are staying healthy. I mean, my God, I'm ready to sit here and be like, hey, stop the training camp. What are we doing here? Dudes are getting hurt. Mekhi Blackmon out for the year. Guys are falling and limping off the field. Just stop it all, man. We'll take our chances in preseason and then in the regular season.
Yeah, no, and
But
that's kind of what I want to first kind of go over is the injury bug has hit the Minnesota Vikings training camp for some reason. And it's always something in the offseason. We know as Minnesota Vikings fans, there's always got to be something that's just not right during the offseason, sometimes during the season as well. But seems like the injury bug has hit Minnesota Vikings training camp. First, yesterday we lose Mekhi Blackmon to an ACL tear, which is pretty devastating, especially after us losing Kyrie Jackson, unfortunately, about a week or two ago. So that cornerback room is getting eaten up, and not just Mekhi Blackmon, but just today, Shaquille Griffin actually limped off the field. Doesn't seem like it's as serious as Blackmon's injury, but nonetheless, still went to the medical tent, still had to limp off the practice field at the end of the day. So that cornerback room is getting really thin to where we got to decide what's going on. Are we going to go out there and sign a big name guy? We're going to go out there and trade for a cornerback. We got to, get some bodies in there and some legitimate ballers in there because we're losing guys that we were expecting to have on the field come September, October, November. And who knows how serious this Shaquille Griffin injury is going to be. And then obviously bringing back Duke Shelley is nice, but I don't think any of us were expecting Duke Shelley to be a week one starter when we signed him. So that is, that's kind of worrisome right there. And then obviously my guy, I got to throw him in there. Tristan Jackson limped off the field today as well.
oh, that's
A guy who
right.
I think
Yeah.
is going to make the 53-man roster. But,
Same.
if you're injured, if you're banged up, your chances of making that roster kind of go down and are slim. So the injury bug, man, do you expect us to sign another cornerback? I know we signed kind of seemed like a practice squad guy or middle of the pack guy from Houston, but do you see us going out there and signing anybody that's worth noting or that could be a starter later on? I mean, we
Well,
got to, right?
I think they have to just off the Mekhi Blackmon injury. But now we need to figure out what's going on with Shaq Griffin because my goodness, if you mean to tell me that we're going from a cornerback room of Byron Murphy, Shaq Griffin, Mekhi Blackmon, Duke Shelley as the CB4 to okay, Byron Murphy, possibly a Caleb Evans as CB2, Duke Shelley CB3, and then after that, it's just take your pick. Like you have to make some sort of move. I talked about this earlier today. I think Stephon Gilmore makes the most sense. I saw some reports that the Vikings may go at, or a name to look out for is what JC Jackson. Okay, fine. I don't know that you can necessarily trade for any ballers. I mean, corners, that's the premium position right now
Yeah.
in today's league. And you have to make some sort of move. Stephon Gilmore to me makes the most sense. Even if it's JC Jackson, anybody to where you can say that's at least respectful or respectable. But I think the status of Shaq Griffin is going to, I mean, we might be at critical mass. This is crazy. The cornerback room, I'm at the point now where in years past, whenever I would see mock drafts saying that the Vikings, they should go after XYZ corner in the first round, where I would just get so annoyed. Why are we doing this all the time? Not to say that they should go corner in the first round, but it's one of those things where the investments that they have put in that position unfortunately hasn't panned out, mainly because of Andrew Booth Jr. and a Caleb Evans. But the bright spot that you could say, all right, we have something to look forward to, Mekhi Blackmon, he's now out for the year. So you got to sign somebody. And then depending on Shaq Griffin's status, you may have to sign 2 guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's the 3 guys that have been brought up have all had ties to Brian Flores. So they make sense. And it's almost to the point to where it's like, okay, why haven't we signed these guys? Because even before training camp started, I felt like we've always needed another veteran presence in that cornerback room. I don't want to go out there with a Caleb Evans being our starting corner. I'm sorry. I know there's some fans of the Caleb Evans, but a Caleb Evans should not be our starting cornerback opposite of Byron Murphy going into the season. So I felt like we should assign, whether it be J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, or Xavier Howard months ago. Now, I'm not, the expert here by any means, but obviously we're in a position now to where we kind of have to go out there and sign a veteran guy. We're getting real thin in that cornerback room, but I'm sure we'll make some type of move. But again, the move that we made, what was it, this morning or last night? I mean, I didn't even write the guy's name down, but
you know what? Nobody knows who those guys are.
Exactly.
They signed a corner and a linebacker, and anybody that can sit here and say, "Oh, I watched all the film of these guys." No, you didn't. You're lying. Like, these are probably going to be camp bodies, but you have to make some sort of move. And if you are able to trade for a corner, a premium position, the team that you're trading with for that corner, they're going to give you scraps. So don't expect anything there. I think your best bet is Stephon Gilmore. Xavier Howard, I want nothing to do with that guy.
I think he has legal problems right now.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. And I'm not even going to go into the details because it's one of those things where on YouTube we'll get flagged for it just by saying those words. You want to find out that information, go ahead and look for it yourself. But Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, you might need to sign 2 guys. But this is crazy because going into training camp, all the vibes were great. Christian Darrisaw, Duke Shelley, he's brought back. This is amazing. This is good stuff. And now it's, oh man, just wrap all these players in bubble wrap. Like just protect these guys. What's going to happen next? Hopefully nothing.
Yeah, just let the offense get out there and get their work. Let's put the defense in bubble wrap and let's get to week 1 of the preseason at least. So, no, I feel you there. Let's get some shout outs in. Bob Sweet was waiting on us to get in. Mr. Mock Draft, thanks for tapping in. Papa Gary tapping in. Realistic Randy in the house. Love your content, but your skits are truly epic. We're just talking about your skits the other day too. So gotta love the Realistic Randy skits, man. Our guy Rap tapping in. Our guy Rap, man. Rap's gonna be around. We got some things in the works. Man. So keep your eyes peeled. Skull for Life, Barber, 1975. Skull, thank you for tapping in. Skull Mafia tapping in as always. Appreciate you, Skull Mafia, who will be at the home opener and at Skull Fest. So looking forward to seeing you again. It's becoming an annual holiday for us Vikings fans and Purple Gang over here. Home opener, Skull Fest. Let's get it. Let's see who else we got in here. Yeah, looks like I got everybody so far, but thanks for tapping in, guys. Make sure to throw your comments and your questions up there. We're going to get to them towards the end of the show. But next, I want to talk. Let's get positive. Let's get a little positive today. The past couple days from the quarterback position, we have a real quarterback competition in my eyes between J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. You don't think so?
No, I'm gonna let you go ahead, finish it.
I think we got a legitimate quarterback competition. J.J. McCarthy hasn't taken any first team reps yet. That's kind of what we're waiting on. But overall, as far as the play goes, both quarterbacks have looked pretty darn good. Sam Darnold is quoted from Justin Jefferson, loving the way he's throwing the ball, throwing it deep, throwing bombs, whatever you want to call it. JJ McCarthy, second pass of the day today, throws a bomb to Jalen Naylor. So we're getting the highlights from these guys. I think it's going into a quarterback competition. Randy, I don't think you feel the same.
Well, let's be clear about something here, SK. You were among the leaders of the JJ McCarthy propaganda to Minnesota. The man makes one pass against in the second, third teams to Jalen. Listen, you can only do what you're based on the opportunities that you can get. You can only make the most of those. I understand that, but I think when push comes to shove and preseason starts, joint practices, all that fun stuff, Sam Darnold's getting all the snaps with the first team offense. So until he can make all the plays that he wants to, McCarthy, but until I see some sort of move as far as he's getting significant snaps with the first team, like okay, fine. He looks good. He doesn't look awful, so I'll take that. But you're slick, dude. You're a Michigan guy. You've been doing all this JJ McCarthy to Minnesota stuff, so he makes one play, and y'all ready to raise all holy hell, man. You think you're slick, but you're not.
I spoke it into existence, Randy. I spoke it into existence.
Yeah, I did.
The law of attraction. It works. It happens.
But I saw from Judd Zolgad, I think on Twitter, where he said that, talking about quarterbacks, that Sam Darnold has been great on the deep throws, but the touch has been a bit off on the intermediate throws. Mm-hmm. So I guess there's the area of opportunity right there, because we, as fans, we love the big plays, the 50-yard bombs to Justin Jefferson, but the game of football, I mean, you have to be able to make plays at all three levels. Training camp just started, so give him some time. But let's say if he was to continue to struggle there, and JJ McCarthy, because those are the meat and potato plays right there that sets up the deeper, longer plays, unless you're just going to throw 50-yard bombs every possession that you do. But it's Sam Darnold's job to lose. I don't think there's a quarterback competition, even though I know you guys are just waiting, just ready to jump in like kids playing double dutch at recess. Just JJ McCarthy, come on in.
Not yet. No quarterback competition yet. All right. And I'm fine with JJ McCarthy not being the starter come week 1. I'm fine with him being the backup, learning behind Sam Darnold, kind of getting his feet wet. But I think eventually this season he's going to have to, well, I'm not going to say have to. It would be nice to see him eventually make the start midway through the season. But that also means that this team probably isn't going to be in a position to make the playoffs if he does make that start midway through the season. So you're almost in a win-win with that, to where, hey, look, if JJ McCarthy doesn't play this year, that means Sam Darnold is having a good season, and we're probably looking at the playoffs more than likely. Now, if JJ McCarthy does play this season, that means there's a chance that the Minnesota Vikings aren't a playoff team. So it's what do you want? Do you want to see JJ McCarthy out on the field, or do you want Sam Darnold to have a really good year and you have a shot at the playoffs? So I'm good with either one. I'd like to see JJ McCarthy get his feet wet, but again, I wouldn't mind seeing Sam Darnold go out there and ball out and us be in a position to play postseason football. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to a quarterback competition, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Darnold by any means is the week 1 starter. But it's kind of funny how it's almost how different the two quarterbacks are. Sam Darnold looks like he's just chucking a ball downfield and dropping it into a basket to Justin Jefferson, and he had another really nice one to Jordan Addison today. And JJ McCarthy's kind of the intermediate kind of passer, to where he's going to fit it into those tight windows. He likes throwing towards the middle of the field. He's almost the opposite of what Sam Darnold brings and what Sam Darnold's good at. So it's almost the coaching staff is going to look and say, okay, well, what do we really want to do here? Yes, we love chucking the ball downfield, and Sam Darnold looks like he's doing really good at it. But Kelsey's offense does ask the quarterback to throw those intermediate routes like Kirk Cousins was really good at. And, I wasn't a huge Kirk Cousins fan by any means, But there's certain things that we are going to miss that Kirk Cousins did for this team as far as those intermediate routes and his accuracy. And let's be real, whether you like the guy or not, yes, he's corny. Yes, he's Mr. Cole's cash or whatever, whatever you didn't like him for. There was a lot of things that he did well. So we're going to miss that intermediate kind of throwing, that accuracy that Kirk Cousins brought that Sam Darnold may not have. And that's where Sam Darnold kind of got in his trouble and turned the ball over a lot outside of his fumbling issues, was those intermediate routes. So it's going to be interesting to see what KOC and his coaching staff decide to do once we get later on in the training camp in the preseason, and to see how good JJ McCarthy looks in preseason. Because if we go out there in those first 2 games and McCarthy's lighting it up and he looks great in preseason, then we got a serious question and say, okay, wait a minute. Now he's getting playing time. Yes, it's against 2s and 3s, but he's lighting it up. So there's going to be a little bit of a question mark there, or a competition, hopefully. There's nothing wrong with having competition at the quarterback position. We haven't had that in, God, 8 years now? I mean, since before Kirk got here. And before that, it was Teddy, it was Sam Bradford, it was those guys. So it's been a long time since the Vikings have had a quarterback competition, and we got some talent in that room. So I wouldn't be opposed to having, quarterback competition or quarterback question going into that last week of preseason, but it's not always necessarily a bad thing. Let's get to another comment here. It says Mike Bogenholm. Hope I didn't butcher your last name. No, I want to see JJ redshirt. Hopefully we get the best out of Sam. Well, this is it for Sam Darnold. If you want to get paid again, this is your opportunity, and this is your best opportunity, your best situation that you've been in. He was with San Francisco, but he was a backup. He had his one start, looked pretty good in that one start. But you haven't been in a situation like this. You haven't had weapons like this with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So, I mean, what would be your prediction as far as how that quarterback position goes, whether it be McCarthy start middle of the season or not playing at all this year? What would be your prediction?
I only want to see JJ McCarthy out there on the football field in regular season games because the coaching staff has deemed him ready. I'm not really concerned. 2024 is just a year where you just get through the mud, and then 2025, you're in a great spot financially in terms of cap space, and McCarthy has a year under his belt. I'm not concerned about if Sam Darnold struggles or if he doesn't look good or he turns the ball over like he's done his whole career. Okay, now we should throw out JJ McCarthy. But if he's not ready, he's not ready. This is the guy where, hey, man, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has killed it this offseason. I think he's put this team, this coaching staff, in the best possible spot with the resources that he had available. And if you want to give him an extension, I'm all for it. But I need to see something from KOC. And the play calling from him is, to say suspect is being generous, to where the only thing we have to work with before I'm ready to kiss his ass is quarterback development. You put out JJ McCarthy. If Sam Darnold struggles, well, we got to do something here. McCarthy, just get out there. And he doesn't look good either. Then what are we doing here? This is the future. 2024, whatever happens, happens. If you do put him out there this season, that means you are saying that he is ready, regardless of what Sam Darnold, how he looks or how bad he looks. Sam Darnold is not even a factor when it comes to McCarthy, for me anyway. When he's ready, go ahead and play him. I don't think I would realistically expect for that to be in 2025, next year. But if they say it's mid-season this year, cool. All right. That's your decision. I'm off it. I'm not going to say what they should or shouldn't do. But he goes out there, all right. We're golden. There's no more excuses.
Yeah, and you're almost playing with house money if you're the Vikings here, to where, Sam Darnold could almost protect KOC's, job. Not that KOC's on the hot seat by any means, but you put Sam Darnold out there and say a team's not good. You always have that fallback plan of, well, our future is JJ McCarthy. Sam Darnold's just kind of fill gap quarterback. Obviously, he's not our guy. That's the reason why we weren't in the position that we expect to be in at the end of the season. So you have that fall guy in Sam Darnold if you're KOC. But I agree with you on the KOC, maybe not to the extent of how you feel about it, but KOC's, it's more of an inconsistency with his play calling to where he'll have games where it's like, okay, KOC's calling the game of his life right now. He's killing it right now. And then he'll come out the very next game and then we'll try a QB sneak with Nick Mullins with Brandon Powell trying to be his push man. Like there's just those moments where you're like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we trying this? To make you scratch your head of what is KOC thinking. So I think KOC needs to get more consistent with his play calling. Not necessarily that he's a bad play caller, just be more consistent with your play calling. Kwesi, the drafts are a little weak for me. That's where my concern is with Kwesi. Now, this draft could change everything. I loved what we did in this draft. And it's not just because of JJ McCarthy pick, but we traded up for Dallas Turner, which is a huge position of need and the most important position outside of quarterback and maybe left tackle on the football team. And you went out there and you drafted possibly the best pass rusher in this draft in Dallas Turner. So I loved what we did in this draft, but in drafts prior, it was a lot of head scratchers and a lot of like, okay, what are we doing here, Kwesi? We're trading 20 spots back for a safety when we could have had the best safety in the draft that year. And I hate bringing that up, but it's just going to be a thing for a while until we get a really good draft from Kwesi. But when you're a general manager of a team, you got to be able to draft pretty good unless you're trading those picks for stars in the NFL that are solidified already. And we're not necessarily doing that. So I got to see a little more from Kwesi, not just one really good offseason.
Wow.
And yes, I love us extending Christian Darrisaw, obviously the Justin Jefferson extension and the moves that we made. This offseason was as close to perfect as you can get if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan. Now, I would have liked us to address the interior defensive line because I feel like that's one of the weaker parts of our team, and we didn't address it at all. But overall, this is as close as you can kind of get to a perfect offseason if we're not counting the injuries that happened in the last 2 days and, you know, all the other things that we had to deal with for the past week or so. But I still got to see a little bit more from Kwesi when it comes to drafting because I still have my questions there.
So 2022, we all agree that was a monumental disaster.
Yeah.
Last year, all right, you drafted Jordan Addison. Did he know that Addison was just a head case where he's going to cause trouble every offseason? Probably not, but take that away. He's a damn good player. Mekhi Blackmon was in line to be the CB3, and he's out for the year, torn ACL, and you got Ivan Pace Jr. as an undrafted free agent last year. If you want to nitpick and say that's not part of the draft, then all right, fine, whatever.
I'll give it to him.
So that was a step up from 2022, and then as you just said, what we saw this offseason, 2024, what he did in the draft, the free agent signings that I would say the only issue I have this offseason, and we're really nitpicking at this point, but still, if you want to go there, we can. The only issue I have this offseason is that you didn't trade Danielle Hunter. You should have traded him.
Yeah.
You would have gotten a first-round pick for that guy. But quite honestly, getting your franchise quarterback, getting Dallas Turner, I mean, I think ever since 2022, I feel like he's done nothing but good things. And then not only that, but Justin Jefferson and the Christian Darrisaw extensions to where Jefferson is just a consummate professional. Like he could have easily just pulled a CD Lamb or a Brandon Ayuk. Hey, I'm going to hold out, or I'll be here, but I'm going to hold in, so to speak. That's one thing. He got that extension done. But Christian Darrisaw, this could have been a problem next year as a distraction. And he took care of that super quick to where we don't have to worry about it. Your two cornerstone players are taken care of. And he got it done early to where, hey, Tristan Wirfs and Rashawn Slater,
They're
They
gonna
still
reset.
do.
They're gonna reset that
So
market.
it's going to be more expensive than what Christian Darrisaw is getting. I
Yeah.
feel like Quasi, and I was the biggest Quasi hater in 2022, where I'm like, hey, bro, you don't know what you're doing. Clearly, you don't. But I think he's done a great job. You want to see more? You need to see more from him.
And it's more so draft wise. And again, he's gotten better every draft, and I'll give him that. And again, I'm not a Quasi hater. I like Quasi a lot. I just want to see a little bit more in these drafts, but I'll give him the credit to where each draft he's gotten better. Now we still got to see what these players actually look like when they're out on the field from this year's draft. But again, he's gotten better every year when it comes to draft. But this upcoming offseason, I think Doogie actually said this on Score North, is that he's going to be extremely active when it comes to free agency in the next offseason. So I think that's going to give him a chance to really solidify himself and really earn that extension. Not that he hasn't earned it just yet, but to really put his stamp on this team and say, okay, I had a great draft last year. Now we're going into the 2025 offseason and we're loading the hell up because we have that rookie quarterback. So I'm looking forward to next year's offseason. And a lot of these contracts that were signed, I believe Christian Darrisaw's cap hit for the next 2 years is, I think, $6 million and $10 million, if I'm not mistaken. And then Justin Jefferson's cap hit is pretty low for the next 2 years as well. So that's opening up that window that we were all talking about when we did want to draft a rookie quarterback. Now we got the rookie quarterback. Now you got about a year to 2 years to where you can load up in free agency, whether you want to load up on the defensive side of the ball, whether you want to load up on the interior offensive line. Aaron Jones, who knows if he's going to be back after the 2024 season, you can load back up at running back again. So that gives him an opportunity to put a stamp on this franchise. Say, okay, Quasi's our guy for the future and for the far future as well. So, and I was a Rick Spielman fan. But like, I know a lot of people are tough on Rick Spielman, but a lot of these guys that are getting these massive extensions are guys that Rick Spielman drafted. And that's not taking away anything from Quasi, because yes, he got those deals done. But those are guys that Rick Spielman drafted. The problem was that his hip was tied to Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins, and obviously that didn't work out. Zimmer's got to go. Might as well clean house, and Rick Spielman had to go. So, and I'm absolutely happy with the guys that we hired. But again, I'd like to see a little bit more from Quasi. Not saying that I don't like what he's done, because he's improved every single year on the moves that he's made, in my opinion. I got to see one more draft. I got to see what he does in next year's draft, especially when we kept that first round pick without giving it up to move up for a quarterback. Let's see what he does with that first round pick next year. Is it going to be an interior defensive lineman, a cornerback, please, that doesn't get injured first 2 days of training camp? So what is he going to do with that, and where we're going to be drafting, obviously. But KOC, if we were to put anybody on a hot seat or levels, I guess you can say, Quasi, I feel, is definitely more safe in his job than KOC is right now. But this is a big year for KOC. This isn't necessarily a playoff run or bust for KOC. I'm not going to say that. But you got to show us something. You got to show us something here. And again, like I said earlier, Sam Darnold is the fall guy. If we don't have a good year this year, the first person we're going to look at more than likely is going to be, well, Sam Darnold was our quarterback. We didn't put in our future franchise quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. That's why we weren't in the position that we are expecting to be, whether it be playoffs or whatever people are expecting. But, you know, KLC is definitely not as safe in his job as Quasi is. But I do believe the Wilfs and ownership do feel comfortable with Quasi and KOC running this ship and leading this team in this franchise. So, I mean, a lot to find out this season, man. This is not just about the Vikings making the playoffs or not. There's going to be a lot of context in this season of how this team's going to look in the future. So I'm excited to see that. But you mentioned the Christian Darrisaw extension. We won't spend too much time on that. I know that was a few days ago. But locking down the cornerstone of your offensive line here in Christian Darrisaw, how big of a move was that, in your opinion, from Quasi? And you kind of already touched on it, so obviously we don't need to repeat it too much. But how big of a move was that for the Minnesota Vikings to get that done and to get that done this early, not wait on it till next offseason.
You save money in the long run, and then next year, instead of the big elephant in the room of Christian Darrisaw, we need to get this contract. Next off season, free agency, you can just fill the rest of the positions up. You don't have to. So over the cap has the Vikings right now at about roughly $54 million available. So you can essentially start free agency without all the talking heads saying, hey, what are you going to do with your left tackle? And meanwhile, Tristan Wirfs and Rashawn Slater, they're going to surpass whatever Christian Darrisaw just got. This is huge. I mean, you can essentially go into free agency. That's why I'm saying 2024 is, I guess, a wash, or it's just the prep before the work. Because you go into next year and you can just look at all the other positions. The two most important players on this team, obviously not named JJ McCarthy, but the veterans, they're taken care of. Now you can look at, well, I would have said Kenny Clark, but he just re-signed with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. But you at least you're in a good spot to where the Kirk Cousins dead cap hit, the Marcus Davenport dead cap hit is no longer a problem. Like you washed your hands of it. So you can start fresh without having to worry about your two most important players. I mean, you're in a fantastic spot. And I would challenge anybody to say, did you really see this coming at all?
Yeah.
Christian Darrisaw getting this extension at this point in time? No, this was going to be next year thing. Okay, what are we going to do now? Oh man, is he going to hold out? We don't have to worry about it anymore. We're chilling.
Yeah,
everything's gravy when it comes to this roster going into next year. So 2024, whatever. And actually, let me touch on something real quick, off topic. What you mentioned before, talking about KOC. I think his job security, he's not on the hot seat or anything like that. But I'm saying as far as his long-term future with the team, I think starts and ends with JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
This is your shot, dude. Play calling is, we can argue all day long as far as, well, maybe he has good games and bad games. I think consistently he is not that great, and Kirk Cousins bailed him out as well as Justin Jefferson. But that's a whole different conversation for another day. You are the QB guru, the developer. This is your stamp. This is what I need to see. He looks good. Hey, KOC and Kwesi, they're a package deal. If not, well, then we're going to have that conversation.
Have that tough conversation again, huh?
It's not tough for me, but for everybody else that loves him.
Randy's on here. We see what side Randy's leaning on the other side of the fence here a little bit with KOC, but that's fine, man. I think it's legitimate. I mean, you have a right to feel that way. I maybe not be that far. I'm kind of in the middle here. There's some things that I really like that KOC does, but there's also things where I'm like, I didn't like that decision by KOC. Now, if we look back at last year and, the quarterback carousel that we're kind of dealing with, you got to give him credit there. The guy was literally coaching Josh Dobbs up in the headset before we even snapped the ball. So I give him credit there. I mean, he showed a fiery side, which we didn't really see that until the receiver documentary on Netflix, which I think before that, a lot of us were kind of like, KLC's just a nice guy. He's always smiling. He's just a little too soft. And I'm old school. I like the fiery, get on your ass type of coach. That's why I like Zimmer so much. And his time just ran out. He got too old. He's too old school. But then we made the complete opposite decision of going with KOC, which he seemed like he was this nice, soft guy. And we finally got to see a fiery side of him on that documentary, to where I said, oh, you know what? He does have it in him. He can get on his players. He's not just this nice, player coddling coach, to where he can get on these guys when he needs to. So I have belief in KOC. And again, just like Kwesi, KOC, this is their first time holding these positions. This is KLC's a first-time head coach. This is Kwesi's first time being a GM. So there's going to be some speed bumps. There's going to be some rough patches to where they start to figure it out. This is the year, and it seems like Kwesi's starting to figure out and getting comfortable and making the right moves. And you brought up a move that I was just absolutely disgusted with last offseason when we signed Marcus Davenport. I hated that move from Kwesi, and that was one of those moves where I was like, come on, dude, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
We gave a guy $13 million who had a half a sack the year before. He comes in and he shows you spent your money in the wrong place. I think he played like 4 games or something. Granted, he was good when he was healthy and he played. I'll give him that. But you can't give a guy that type of money. So those are one of those moves where I question Kwesi. But just this offseason, he's proven me wrong to where it's like, okay, Kwesi's starting to get comfortable in the spot that he's in, the title that he holds. And it looks like he's starting to make the right moves. The moves that not just you and me like, but the entire fan base has kind of been clamoring for, that Rick Spielman wouldn't do, like go out there and sign a Dalton Risner, to where we were all over Twitter. Everybody sign Dalton Risner again. He didn't have a great year last year, but at least add depth to that interior offensive line. Give Ed Ingram some competition. Give Brandell some competition at the guard spot. And that's exactly what they did. So I'm liking how they're starting to get comfortable in those titles. KLC may be a little bit behind Kwesi on that aspect, but I expect him to kind of fall into his role and be that guy. I wouldn't put him any lower than, and I know this guy maybe led his team to the Super Bowl, not a Super Bowl win, but Zach Taylor, a guy that came from that McVay coaching tree, to where he has a lot of questionable games as far as play calling.
You're putting KOC above Zach Taylor?
I'm saying he's not any lower than Zach Taylor.
You're saying they're even.
They're equal.
The man went to a Super Bowl. AFC
Nick Sirianni went to a Super Bowl, and Nick Sirianni, I hate Nick Sirianni.
I know.
I don't think
KOC's nowhere close to that. Zach Taylor and Nick Sirianni, they lost Super Bowls, but in the case of Zach Taylor, going to AFC Championship games, the only reason the Bengals didn't even do much of anything last year is because their quarterback got hurt. But we saw what happened when he is healthy. He can at least give the Chiefs some competition, and they have Patrick Mahomes. So what are you going to do? You're putting KOC and Zach Taylor on the same podium right now.
Zach Taylor has a very good roster.
Wow.
He has Joe Burrow. He has Jamar Chase. He has a really good team.
You have Justin Jefferson. You have Christian Darrisaw. You have Kirk Cousins, who you believed in.
And KOC's first year on the job, they went 12-5?
SK.
Do you blame that loss against the Giants on KOC?
Yes. Him and Kirk Cousins.
Completely on KOC, not Ed Donatel.
4th and 8.
He didn't throw the ball. He didn't throw the ball to TJ Hawkinson. Kirk did.
Don't do this. Why is your second best playmaker running a short out route on 4th and 8, 5 yards away from the sticks? Why are you calling that play? Yes, Kirk should have thrown it to Justin Jefferson, but why is that play being called? TJ Hawkinson should have ran a damn curl route or an inside post route or something. You're going to run a 3-yard out route on 4th and 8, and you're putting him on the same pedestal as Zach Taylor.
You got to have out. Not that I'm saying having TJ Hawkinson run that 3-yard out route is the right decision, but as a quarterback, you got to know it's 4th and 8. I can't throw that. Now, granted, your outlet should have probably been like Dalvin Cook out of the backfield or somebody else. TJ Hawkinson should have got to the chains, but again, you can't put that loss on KOC.
You're amazing.
Ed Donatel's defense gave up 300 plus yards to Daniel Jones, Randy.
I understand that, but still, the season was on the line. 4th and 8, you call your best play. And listen, I know Kirk. Listen, I turned on Kirk Cousins on that play. You don't got to tell me how he screwed up, but TJ Hawkinson should not be running a 3-yard out route towards the sidelines on 4th and 8. Just all the chips in, and that's what you call? And you're putting him there with Zach Taylor.
I put him there with Zach Taylor.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Put him there with Zach Taylor, man.
You got it.
Now, look, your point is valid. I'm not saying it's invalid, but I'm not going to put that loss on KOC by any means. I can't.
And Kirk Cousins share equal blame in that loss. You let Daniel Jones.
We're not putting any blame on the defense.
Game. Yes, we all know Ed Donatel stunk as defensive coordinator. We know this, but still, to end the game,
so he's got to take fault for hiring the guy. I'll say that.
Oh, that's where you'll give him blame for hiring Ed Donatel. Not the last play where offense is your specialty, and you're gonna dial up some zippity doodah crap where you hope that Hawkinson can break a tackle and then bust off for 5 more yards to get the first down and continue the game for the season. Your second best playmaker.
Hey, toss the ball up. If it's intercepted, it's intercepted. I would have took that. I would have took that far over checking it down, regardless of who you're checking it down to.
You could have checked it down to, I don't know, KJ Osborne, somebody else that doesn't matter in that moment. Your second best play. Of course, Jefferson's going to go deep, so all eyes are going to be on him. He's the superstar. He's the stud. That same year, the Buffalo catch. Everybody knows how great he is.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson should have been in the middle. Just an inside post. A curl route, something. He runs a 3-yard out route. And guess who called that, Sean?
KOC. Oh, you call me by my government now?
Okay. Who called that?
KOC called it.
And you're not getting it. But he's on the same level as Zach Taylor and Nick Sirianni.
Outside of the Super Bowl run, which you had Joe Burrow on a great year. You had Jamar Chase on a great year. You had a great team. I'm not taking credit away from Zach Taylor by any means. He's a really good coach.
Yes, you are.
But one Super Bowl appearance doesn't make you a great coach. It doesn't. Where do you rank Nick Sirianni in coaches in this league?
Well, Nick Sirianni, I mean, to be honest.
Nick Sirianni.
I get it. He's a pompous ass. He doesn't call the plays. He's a rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
He did get his team to the Super Bowl. With that said, they should have never fired Doug Peterson. I don't even want to go down the road of the Philadelphia Eagles and all that stuff. All I'm saying is you lost for Zach Taylor and the Bengals. Their demise was at the highest level against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and losing to Matt Stafford and the LA Rams in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. They're close to winning it, too. I'll give them that.
And you're saying KOC's on the same level as that?
Yeah.
Calling that BS on 4th and 8. That's what you're saying. That's why.
One play call and he didn't throw the ball. And he didn't give up 300 yards on the defensive side of the ball.
But he hired him. Just like you said. He hired him. So we're not going to give him any sort of punishment for that?
Hey, no, look.
KOC's just walking on water.
I will say that was KOC's worst decision of his tenure as this coach of the Minnesota Vikings, is hiring Ed Donatel to be his defensive coordinator. I mean, let's say he hired somebody else to be the DC that year. Anybody else. He could have hired anybody else. We would have went way further than what we did with Ed Donatel. Can you agree there?
I mean, sure, but it came down to ultimately your side of the ball, Kevin O'Connell. It came down to the offense. The play call was awful. The execution was also awful. They share the blame. like both of them equally. And actually, if anything, probably more so KOC because he called that play. Kirk Cousins probably still would have wet the bed and soiled himself no matter what play you would have called in that moment. But you allowed Daniel Jones to walk out of your own house, your own stadium with a playoff victory.
I was there.
KOC and Kirk Cousins are the reasons. They are the reason why Daniel Jones got 2 years, $82 million guaranteed because of that game.
We're here for the long run, the long haul. Okay, we're planning ahead for the future.
I didn't even want to do this. Why? Like you
get a little playoff win, pay Daniel Jones, another contender out of the way in the NFC for us to set up a nice little run to the Super Bowl. That's all it is.
I love the optimism, the unwavering optimism you have with Kevin O'Connell. I didn't even intend for this to be a back and forth or KOC because I'm saying, hey, JJ McCarthy, that's his thing. Like how he looks, that will determine how KOC is viewed by the Vikings brass. But man, it's incredible to put him on the same level as Zach Taylor and Nick Sirianni. That's amazing. That's
no.
Incredible.
He's a better coach than Nick Sirianni. I'm telling you right now.
All right.
Right now.
You got it. You got it, SK.
If my team could push their way to the Super Bowl, I definitely would have took it. If my team could have played and Christian McCaffrey quarterback-led 49ers team in the NFC Championship to make it to the Super Bowl, most definitely I would have taken it. So, look, let's not get on the Nick Sirianni thing. That's a touchy subject. I freaking hate the guy. I think he's a terrible coach, and his team carries him. So, but Brandon Kuhn said, I think you guys need to do a top 10 coach list. We probably won't do a top 10 because it's a little too much thinking. Real quick, who would be your top 5 coaches in the league? Just off the top of your head.
Andy Reid.
Got to be number 1, right?
Yeah, he's number 1. I would also say I would put Zach Taylor up there. Like, I know that's not your speed right now. I think he's a good coach. I really do.
He is.
I might have to, man. I think I might have to put DeMeco Ryans there as well. Even just after 1 year with CJ Stroud, how they look, high expectations. But then again, we're talking about top 5.
Yeah. It'd be a little too early for me to put him up there. I do like DeMeco Ryans a lot, though. Is McVay still a top 5 coach in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think he is. After that, it gets a bit murky. Yeah. I guess I'll go Sean McDermott. I'll go John Harbaugh. Doug Peterson, I think he should have never gotten fired by Philadelphia, so I'm going to go ahead and throw him in that as well.
He was on my wish list when we were looking for coaches. I would have liked to hire Doug Peterson.
Same. Oh, my God, same.
I like him a lot.
Mike Tomlin's a guy that just doesn't have a losing record, so it's put him wherever you want. Honestly, after you go through a top 5, it's pretty much shooting fish in a barrel. Like, they're all pretty much equal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to put him in any particular order. Andy Reid's number 1. Outside of that, not that he's my number 2, and people are going to hate me for this, Matt LaFleur. I mean,
yeah. No, that's fair.
The guys had what outside of last year, which I think they won 10 or 11 games last year. I think every year he's had double-digit wins. Granted, he had Aaron Rodgers, but even with Jordan Love this year and the struggles he had early on, it still led them to a double-digit winning season in the playoffs. So as much as I hate to say it, LaFleur might be a top 5 coach in this league.
No, he is.
McVay, I agree with you there. Harbaugh, Tomlin, those would be my guys. And Jim Harbaugh. And I know I'm a Michigan guy and it might sound a little biased. Jim Harbaugh's a winner. The Chargers are going to be a problem. Maybe not this year. They may be in somewhat of a kind of, I'm not gonna say they're in a competitive rebuild. If there's anything that's a competitive rebuild, the Chargers are in a competitive rebuild. But Jim Harbaugh, I would definitely put at least in my top 7. I think he's gonna be a problem. Him and Justin Herbert and that offense, they're gonna be running that ball too. Just
Yeah,
imagine Justin
that's
Herbert
what
on
he
that
does.
play action deep pass. It's gonna be vicious. So yeah, we're kind of in the same boat there. But LaFleur, unfortunately, I think is a really good coach, and I hate to
He's a
say
good
it,
coach. Yeah.
but the guy's a good coach. But let me start a couple comments here. Gary says, Randy, what's your season record prediction? So send your questions and your comments, guys. We're going to get to those before we get up out of here. First one from Gary. Randy, what's your season record prediction?
If Jordan Addison's inevitable suspension doesn't happen this year, but next year in 2025, I say the Vikings go 11-6.
Oh,
I think Sam Darnold will. I think he will have his best season as a pro. He's
okay.
got the weapons. The interior offensive line, we'll see what that ends up looking like, but I think they'll finish 11-6.
Wow, look at you being optimistic. You're
That's
supposed
what
to
I'm
be, yeah,
saying.
you're supposed to be the bad guy here, Randy.
No, that's in the past. That's in the
That's
past.
in the past.
Yep.
Kirk is gone. Zimmer's gone. It's all positive vibes.
It's all positive. I'm chilling.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of discussed the record prediction every other show that I do, but I see us around the 9-8, 8-9 kind of range, which is that's not bad. I don't see us going 4 and what was it, 13 or 5-12. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. Just history tells you Minnesota Vikings, we normally don't draft in the top 10, if not ever. So I think we're going to be the same, right middle of the pack. We're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, barring any injuries, any major injuries. I think we'll be right in the mix for the playoffs, whether we make it or not. But I can't see double-digit wins just yet. I wouldn't be surprised, but Sam Darnold's got to have a really good year. And it could happen. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I can't see – I don't see 11 wins. We got a pretty tough schedule this year. And then everybody got better in our division as well. Packers, well, I'm not going to say Packers got better, but they're still a pretty damn good team. Lions, pretty damn good team. And I think the Bears got a little better regardless of what I say about them or Caleb Williams. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I still think
They're
they
going to
got
be good.
better this year.
Yeah.
Blake says Adam Thielen reunion. Do you think Adam Thielen reunion's coming? Not just a one-day contract to retire with the team, but do you see the Panthers possibly cutting him and him ending up with the team by season start?
No, if you're going to get Adam Thielen, you're going to have to trade for him, and I don't think the Panthers are going to let him go. Bryce Young was so bad last year. So awful, and he was the consensus #1 pick. You have to take him. Why wouldn't you? Screw his size. He played in the SEC. The man's a beast. This man was awful, and a lot of that I think can be attributed to Carolina's offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
A complete disaster. They need all the weapons that they can get. I don't see them parting ways with Adam Thielen at all. If so, then yes, you should bring him back.
Oh yeah,
Especially if
you're the
Jordan
first. You're the
Addison's
first
going to be
call. You're the
suspended
first
this
call
year.
to his agent at that point, right?
Yeah, but I don't see it happening. I think it's fun to talk about and the nostalgia and whatnot, but realistically speaking, Carolina would be, and their owner is incompetent as hell. Carolina would be stupid to part ways with Adam Thielen. They need to give Bryce Young every opportunity to be successful, to
Most
not look like a bust. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening this offseason. Next offseason, I don't know. Is this his last year on his contract with Carolina, or does he have 2 more years? I'm not too sure.
Well, talk real quick. I'll find out for you.
If he doesn't, then I think it's next offseason would be the offseason where he possibly does get cut or traded or whatever it may be. I don't see it happening this offseason. I feel like it's a little too late for that to happen. But who knows? I would love to have Adam Thielen back. Have him as a third option with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. That'd be amazing. And TJ Hawkinson. I mean, talk about weapons galore. And then you bring back another red zone target and Adam Thielen. I mean,
well, then the frauds would be us. The frauds would be all of us in Vikings Nation. You remember when his exit, Adam Thielen, he can't get separation, he can't do this, he can't do that, and now we're like, bring him back. We're the real frauds here, myself included.
Did he have 1,000-yard season last year, or like 100-catch season?
I think he had 1,000 yards, but I don't have that up. I do have his contract status. Technically, he's under contract through 2025. So through
2 more
after
years.
next season. Yeah. So, but they do have an out if they want to where they can. It's not really clear right here, but well, goodness, they would just suffer a $5 million dead cap hit instead of the $8.4 million cap hit if he were to stay on the team. But even still, I mean, he's going to be 35 at that point.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to talk about, but nah, he's not coming back.
I mean, I think we all can agree that Adam Thielen is going to retire a Viking. It's just the question of, is he going to be playing at the end of his career for the Vikings, or is he just going to sign a quick little contract to retire as a Viking? Let's not forget, they got out of Minnesota. Yes, he's born and bred in Minnesota. Him and his family are ready to go. They wanted a new environment. They wanted a new setting. And that's what they got in Carolina. And now
he got over 100 catches and over 1,000 yards last year.
Hey man, guy's still productive with Bryce Young as his quarterback.
Yeah,
gotta give him credit.
That's true. Man. Which is why they're not going to let him go. He ain't coming back except for a 1-day contract. That's it.
All right, we got another question from Gary here. What starters do you have least faith in?
Garrett Bradbury.
Some things never change.
Yeah, no, just him. Depending on what happens with the cornerback situation, maybe I'll dive into that. But right now, just off the top of my head, Garrett Bradbury. Like the fact that he's still with the team, but again, like there were so many positions, areas of need for this roster that you can't address all of them in one off season. So I guess because of that, Bradbury is still here. But yeah, he's the one. Everyone talks about Brandon Powell in the Cincinnati game, in the back-to-back QB sneaks. Why is Powell the push man? Bradbury got destroyed, bro. But back-to-back plays. Yeah. He got destroyed. There was no way. You could have had Mike Allstott back there pushing Nick Mullins, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. You have an undersized center, and then we're going to go into this season and just this is his 5th or 6th year. I swear. Out of NC State?
Man. Yeah, NC State.
You know, this is 5th or 6th year.
Well,
that's
it.
He
got the extension. Was it last offseason?
He got, yeah, I think for 2 years, which is why he's still here right now. But I think hopefully they address it next offseason. But he's the guy. Of all the starters, that's the guy. Where it's just, yep, I have zero faith. Whatever you can do, have at it. Have a great time.
And I mean, it doesn't start very easy for him either when we start against the Giants week 1 and Dexter Lawrence. So it's going to be an immediate problem. Now, I'm not going to sit here and give him credit, but what I do got to say is going into that playoff game, remember how desperately we were clamoring for Bradbury to be back? Because who was his backup that year? I forgot who we put in there as his backup because he had back issues and he missed, I think, the last 3 or 4 games to where we were praying that he would be starting or playing against the Giants in that playoff game. So he's serviceable to an extent. But again, when it gets to those, hey, we need a couple yards and we're going to run it down your throat, Bradbury's not the guy to run it behind. You better stretch it outside and get behind those big tackles and Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw. So I would have to agree with you there. If I knew who our starting cornerback was opposite of Byron Murphy, it may be that position. But I think I have enough faith in Brian Flores to where he's going to have this defense right. If you have a couple holes in the defensive side of the ball, I think Brian Flores is obviously a good enough coach to where he can kind of patch up those holes and show those strengths in other positions. So I wouldn't say necessarily cornerback position unless we go out there and running a Caleb Evans out there as our starting cornerback. Then Garrett Bradbury might have somebody that, making him run for his money. So I would have to agree with you, Garrett Bradbury. Interior offensive line just in general. And I feel like that's been our problem for the past 10 plus years is that we just cannot get the interior offensive line right. So something's got to give. Gary's hitting us all with the question. We'll get this one and maybe one more, and then we'll get out of your guys' hair. He says, who are your 2 breakout players this year?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I guess how do you define breakout players? Is it young guys that are homegrown? If not, if it's just all encompassing, I'm gonna say 2 breakout players. Robert Tonyan, because you have no choice. Hawkinson's going to be out. I'm going to say Robert Tonyan and I guess Shaq Griffin.
Let's hope the injury is not too bad and he's
actually
playing.
Well, if he actually ends up playing.
Yeah.
I guess those would be my 2 players. Definitely Robert Tonyan, but trying to think of a second player. It would have been Mekhi Blackmon. Like,
yeah,
that would have been
my pick.
Actually, he would have been my first guy, but he's out for the year. So now I'm just, I don't know, scrapping for whatever I can reach at this point. Definitely Robert Tonyan, and then fill in the blank for the second guy, Shaq Griffin, if he's healthy.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, 2 players.
I would have to kind of circle back around after like 2 weeks once we kind of get a feel of training camp and who's actually going to be our starters in certain positions. I'm going to say it though. I think Ed Ingram makes a step this year. I think not that he's going to have a Pro Bowl year by any means, but I think he has a pretty good year at the starting right guard position. I think Ed Ingram. I'm gonna say Ed Ingram. I'm gonna go out on that limb right there. So, all right, last question for you, Randy. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat, man. You coming to Skull Fest, Doug?
I don't know. You keep asking me that. I'm gonna give you the same. I'm gonna give you the same answer as I do off of the live stream, off of recordings. I don't know. I'm considering it. I might. I'm not sure.
The people are talking, Randy. The people are talking.
I get it. Like and I'm flattered by it. It is under consideration. I might be there, but I can't promise that I will. Or
all right. We're gonna have to accept that answer from Randy so far. So a couple weeks we may have swayed him a little bit. We're making progress on his answers though, guys. So no promises. But again, guys, thank you guys for tuning in, man. Randy, appreciate you actually coming on. It's been a while. It's been a while since we're able to do some content together. It's a couple of years, I think, right? It's been a couple of years since we actually hopped on this content thing together. So yeah, man, we got some things in the works though. So keep your guys' eyes peeled. You'll be seeing a lot more of us lately, as well as, maybe 1 or 2 other people. So be on the lookout, man. We got a lot of things in the works. Again, training camp, right in the midst of it. We got a lot of things going on and a lot of decisions to be made for the Minnesota Vikings. So, man, looking forward to it. Preseason, we're literally less than a week away from the Hall of Fame game, guys. So football season is here, just like JJ McCarthy said. It smells like football in the air, and I'm excited for it. But again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Gary, Skol Mafia, Barber 1975, all you guys, Blake. I know I can't get to all you guys' name, but again, appreciate you guys for tapping in. If you don't already, like and subscribe to Purple and Skull Media on YouTube. And also, I'm sure you guys already do, but if you don't, go and subscribe to Realistic Randy on YouTube as well. Go ahead and hit that follow on Twitter or X at SK_NFL. I think it's Realistic Randy is your handle on Twitter as well, right?
Realistic _ Randy. Yeah.
Realistic_ Randy. Go ahead and hit that follow on Twitter as well, guys. Thank you for another great show, guys. Thank you, Randy, for tapping in with me. See you soon. Peace.